He did her wrong. He did her wrong. Bet you better get up out of there. Out of there. Oh no, I don't know what that was. My camera be acting up sometimes. Okay. Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar, and Malcolm and Marie. That movie came out at the beginning of February. Whew, what a ride it was. It was pretty much a 2-hour-long knife twist of a fight. I was a big fan of the movie. I thought it was really well done. But something that caught my eye in this movie was the way at which Malcolm was taking Marie for granted, which was major issue in the movie. That caught my eye. And it honestly did make me think about the TV show Elite. Big fan of that show. Don't know what season 4 is gonna look like, but still a big fan. What the fuck is going on outside? Hold on. In particular, the couples that it reminds me of from Elite are Lucrecia and Guzman, as well as Ander and Omar, which that's just 3/4 of my two favorite couples from this show. Before we get into any of the complex questions we're gonna address in this episode, let's take a look at taking someone for granted in general. For the science today, we are going to be actually looking at psychology today, and when looking at the concept of being taken for granted, one thing this particular writer wanted us to remember and to keep in mind was that there are some positive sides to taking things for granted. Sounds weird, but let me explain. The best way I can explain the positives of taking something for granted are there are just some things you shouldn't have to experience to begin with, so you shouldn't have to feel grateful that they're not happening. For example, abuse, toxic relationships. You shouldn't have to walk into your new relationship and be thankful every time the person doesn't hit you when they could. That's just so far past the line that you shouldn't have to have the anxiety of being thankful that it's not happening anymore. But this is reality. There's always a negative side. And the negative side to taking something for granted is when you put your own need to feel loved, to feel secured above that of your partners. You, my friend, you're amazing. You're 10/10. You're the best person in this world. You are owed someone's undying loyalty and love, no matter what you do, no matter how you treat the other person. And this is where I really start to see the connection between this and Elite, where you see these people being so cruel and so aggressive and constantly pushing away their partners, and it seems it's because they know their partner's just not going to leave. You also tend to get into the position of someone being taken for granted when one of the partners in the relationship wants to win at being in a relationship. They want the best bargain. They want to get 100% from you, but only have to put in 20% themselves. They want to push that line so they can get the best deal out of the relationship. As well, you also do see this on the other side when the other partner does not stand their ground when it comes to what they need from the relationship. All of this can lead to one person feeling used, feeling taken for granted. It can breed an environment of emotional abuse, as this does start to set up a power dynamic in the relationship. It starts to make someone feel inferior because my emotions are important, so yours are not. My emotions are more important. You are lesser. You are less deserving of love, and that breeds an environment of emotional abuse. But the question today, and the thing that really started to come into mind as I was watching Malcolm and Marie, and as I was tying that to these other shows, is there a link between a tendency to take someone for granted and narcissism? Well, before we get into all of that, let's back up and let me give you a bit more description as to the fight that Malcolm and Marie are having. So we get home from a premiere of Malcolm's new movie. It's about a girl at 20 years old that is recovering from drug addiction. Malcolm is on top of the world. He's excited. He's having the best night of his life. He had so many people giving him so many compliments about this. Marie will not talk to him. She makes him some mac and cheese, but she will not talk to him. She's upset because in his long thank you speech, as he thanked like 100 people that night, from his parents to his third grade teacher, he forgot to thank Marie, and she feels taken for granted because over the course of their 5-year relationship, she has helped him with all of his edits and all of his writing of the project. She herself was a drug addict that got clean at 20 years old, so she felt like she also helped to really give life to this character and give insight into this character that he's trying to write. And at the same time, she felt taken for granted because not only did he not thank her in this speech, he also did not cast her, she being a former actress, he did not cast her for the role of the character. And she truly believes that she could have done a lot better than the person that had been cast because she had the actual experience. She was authentic. She could be authentic to this character. Malcolm, the fight that they have is so aggressive. It crosses every fucking line. It's great. It's great. It's knowing that, and I'll give you a little more information as needed. Is he a narcissist? Is Malcolm a narcissist? Let's go through a lot of the aspects of what Psychology Today has deemed behaviors of a pathological narcissist. Number 1, lies, exaggerations, personal attacks, and shifting of blame. I can't give you examples because this is the whole fucking movie. So all of these, yes, absolutely all of these apply to Malcolm here. Number 2, entitlement and a constant need for gratification. A specific example of this is that Marie goes on a rant about how much he hurt her and how much she felt used. Malcolm comes to chase after her, and the only thing he asks about is if she meant it when she said she thought his movie was mediocre. Seemingly because more than anything, he needs to know that he did a good job. He needs that validation from her. And even after that part of the discussion is over, he then goes forth to some more aggressive attacks. Next, rule breaking and boundary violation. Again, this is something that happens constantly. At the very beginning of the fight, he's constantly calling her crazy, saying she needs to be in a mental hospital, genuinely concerned for her health. He also, as she said, she feels she is a very important part of the story. She feels like she is the inspiration for this drug addict story. He compares every good and bad, but specifically good parts of the character of the story, and compares them to his exes and these other women that he's been with. And what bothered me the most about him was he specifically shamed her for a particular way in which she tried to self-harm, potentially commit suicide. The line all the way the fuck back there. This next one is gonna be a little bit iffier. Again, we are only seeing this character for one night. Some of these things might be more clearly displayed over the course of had we seen them for longer, but this is just one fight we're seeing in one night. So this was a little bit iffier, but it is enjoying instigating and spreading negative emotions in order to establish dominance and control. And the reason why I say this one's a little iffy is because it's hard to tell if he enjoys it. Like, he's not jumping for joy. He definitely seems more generally happy when they are not fighting than when they are fighting. But every time he comes in to blow his load and cross that line, he never seems to have any remorse for it. He does always seem like, have you ever had something to get off your chest and then you felt lighter after you did? He will say these things, he will cross these lines, and then he will look as if he got a weight off of his shoulders after he breaks her. And he goes into these things knowing full well the only purpose is to hurt her. If it were just he's doing these things to establish dominance, it does seem like his goal overall is to win the fight, win the relationship. But it's the enjoyment part of it. From what I saw, from how I looked at it, and of course I watched this a little bit ago, so from what I remember as well, I don't recall it being a feeling of enjoyment that he's getting from saying these things, but for sure it is a play for dominance. I would for sure agree that is a play for dominance in the relationship. And the last one, manipulation, shaming, and guilt tripping in order to get what you want. Again, that's something we really see throughout a lot of it. In particular is after he has yelled at her and told her how all these great things from this movie are actually about other women that he slept with, he leaves for a second, comes back, and then tells her, no, there's one thing about this character that is based on you, and that is the fact that she's self-destructive and she will not allow someone to love her. But I love you. You're crazy, but I'm never gonna let you go. And that in particular is such a backhanded, that looking at that scene, that is an abuser telling you that they love you. The last question we need to go over is whether or not it's pathological, and I would say yes, it's pathological. Again, we are only seeing one night in their relationship. But from the way that they talk, and especially the way Marie behaves to this, we know that this is a habit. We know that this is something that's been going on for the full 5 years of the relationship, because at the beginning of the movie, she says, before she even says what she's upset about, I don't want to talk about it, nothing productive is going to happen tonight. She knows where this is going to go. And then every subsequent time she has something she wants to talk about throughout the night, she has to preface it with, can I ask you a question without you making me feel like shit? Can I say something without you demeaning me? Can I ask you something without you trying to hurt me? So we know that this is a pattern. And another way that we know this is a pattern is because of how she in general reacts when he's yelling at her, when he's crossing these lines, when he's saying these incredibly cruel things. She doesn't act shocked. She doesn't act even scared. She's constantly trying to put on a brave face. She's constantly trying to look strong because she doesn't want him to see her cry, because she knows that's what he wants. She knows that he wants to win this. Does it matter whether it's pathological or not? Yes. For the most part, probably everyone has had a narcissist moment. Looking at the characters from Elite, you have Guzman, who is trying to find a way to grieve with the murder of his sister, especially given that the person he at first thought murdered her is running free, and then he finds out that it was actually his best friend that murdered her, and he's still running free. He's trying to find a way to deal with all of this information, and that's what leads to the momentary lapse in judgment, in which he is constantly push away and really abuse Lucrecia. He knows she loves him so much she won't leave until she does. And then later on in the series, you actually see him giving advice to Ander, who finds out he has cancer and starts pushing his boyfriend Omar away because he doesn't want him to go through all of that, to deal with the trauma of being with someone that has cancer, to have to put his life on hold for someone that has cancer. And you have Guzman saying, you can't push them like this, you can't take them for granted, because one of these days you'll push them too far. So it's common to have these momentary lapses in moral judgment, but from what we've seen, this is a pattern that's been going on for far too long. I personally think Marie shouldn't have been with him to begin with. I personally think she shouldn't be with him now. Malcolm has not showed me that he deserves to be with Marie. If you're interested, watch the movie and let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Thank you very much. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, come back. We'll see each other again. But before you go, don't forget to check out the new book in the Queen of Thieves series, Catwalk Criminals. It is linked down below. And if you're feeling really generous, you can also check out my Patreon. Support me for as little as $2 a month and help me do all of my crazy shenanigans. But until next time, valedictions, friends.